Hi folks, this is going to be a special edition of our ClosersCopy tutorials. I've been looking through the community and I see a lot of people complaining about having difficulty making their frameworks effective. So I'm going to be going through 10 ways to optimize your frameworks. These are the things I consider. You can see them almost like a checklist of things to consider to make your frameworks super effective. But first, due to popular requests, I've decided to plan a 5-day CC framework mastery challenge. Now, this will go ahead based on a number of conditions. So if I get about 100 people sign up or show interest, and if Nico is okay with it, I want Nico to be okay with it because anything I'm doing for CC, I need to make sure that it's keeping in line with his philosophy, because I think he's got a very good philosophy for the things he's doing for CC, for the CC community. Yes, to qualify, I've got two options here. So the first 8 people who join and make a comment about their biggest struggle with the CC frameworks will get a free slot for the challenge. And then the next 50 people who comment about the biggest struggle after that will get the opportunity to get a 50% discount as well. So I'm going to be putting a link to the group in the comments below, in the description below. So if you are interested in learning to master the frameworks in a way that enables you to just be better at copywriting using those frameworks, or if you're struggling to get the best out of ClosersCopy, I know people have been telling me they've invested in ClosersCopy and they're struggling to even know how to start or where to go and how to do this. So this is going to be a 5-day challenge that takes you into intricate ways of thinking about CC, because I see CC almost like a Lego where you can build anything out that you want to build to achieve anything that within the copywriting community. So if you're interested, just use the link below and join. If you are wanting one of the free slots, the spaces are going quickly. I think already, the last time I checked, about 16 people has already joined. So the link is below the video in the description. So let's get on with our tutorial. 10 simple ways to optimize your ClosersCopy frameworks for effective output. So the first one I have here, this is is indirectly a way to optimize, but it's something I call using a key. And the idea here is that whenever you have created your frameworks and you want to get something out of the something more controlled out of the AI, it's hard for the AI to just give you exactly what you're thinking in your head, or an idea that's close to what you're thinking in your head, because there are thousands and thousands of ways to answer a question. So to help the AI be more efficient at giving you the outcome you want, the idea will be to use a key. Some of you already have heard me use this idea of using a key. And this is simple. I'll just go to one of my frameworks and show you what I mean here. Let's use one of the Facebook engagements. So I'll use my spicy Facebook engagement invite. Now, if the idea behind this particular framework is to create a very engaging introduction to something you want people to either click or watch, you want it to be catchy and full of emotions. So this particular framework has achieved that. So let's say you have a title. So like I have a title here now, Christians, How to Maintain Balance in Difficult Times. You could simply just click Write for Me. And it will write for you and give you a good content, but it may not necessarily be the kind of thing you're looking for exactly. Is a bit far-fetched, or it makes sense, but it's not just quite what you want, right? So let's see what it has here. So how to maintain balance in difficult times. The greatest thing about life is not the learning, but the being in it. That's quite powerful, actually. Being in life is quite okay. Life is full of challenges and opportunities. As humans, we are wired for survival. So let's say I didn't quite like this output. I want to control it a bit. So I could say, I could use this as a key. And the idea of the key here is, what's the next? When you go in your example, what is the AI expecting to give you next? Which is usually something I call a handle. The handle that you use in your examples. Let's go into the examples and I'll show you. So these are handles. So the handle is article title, and that's usually what you give the AI at the end. Actually, this highlights an error that is quite common. So what you should have is what you learn from this: article title, inspiration, quote for the picture, short invitation with analogy. So these things with the colon, I call them handles. So the handle here should be, what will you learn from the article? Yeah, that's correct, actually. So what will you learn from this article? Let's say I put something completely different here. Actually, I'm running ahead of myself here. I will explain that in a second. Okay, so that's the handle. But what's the next handle? The next handle is article title. So after the first handle, which is what you find here, what you learn from this article, yeah, the AI is expecting to see the word article title. Now, I can now start off my sentence the way I want it. So I could say something like, killing self over, and the AI will just take that idea and then run with it. So if you want the AI to give you something that's closer to what you're thinking, start off with some phrases. Killing yourself over death. It's a good idea. And then what's happening here is the framework will be giving you more content that's leaning towards that. Let's say that's where you want to go, right? I hope that makes sense. The idea here is we are using a key to control the conversation. And it doesn't have to just be one time alone. So let's just copy this bit here up until this place. Let's say we like all of this up onto this place. I could even go ahead and give more keys. This situation seemed hopeless, but so the way you're having a conversation with the AI, filling in sections, and the AI continues from there. So in that way, you can lead the content in a way that gives you exactly what you want. Okay, so that's the first way to optimize your output. Okay, so second one is that it's all about patterns. The artificial intelligence bots, they all think in patterns. So you see, when they train them, they're training them on patterns that already exist. So the AI is constantly looking for patterns. So to create your patterns, you have to make sure that your handles, like we said before, your handles, these bits here, across all your examples are similar. So that's the first way to ensure there's a pattern following. You can also create patterns by thinking about the tone of language, the tone the person is using. If I use an angry tone for each of these examples, the AI will always output an angry tone in whatever output it gives you. So it's important to think everything in patterns, right? So that is the tip 2. Tip 3 would be to use handles that make sense to the AI. I cannot overestimate the importance of this one, because 9 times out of 10, when my frameworks are not working, it's because the AI doesn't understand the handle in relation to the content I'm trying to make it work for. Let me use another example. So here I have some case study examples here. Oops. Right, so I got topic, headline, inspirational quote. Let me use another one. Okay, topic, analogy-based context. Topic, analogy-based context. And so the idea here is, because the AI understood what analogy-based context means, and it saw an analogy in here, it makes sense to the AI. So the AI gives me what I'm looking for. So what if I wrote story-based content here, and I'm expecting the AI to give me an analogy, but I don't, it may work, but most of the time it just might not work. Or what if I make up a word for analogy, let's say insightful stories or something like that, or I'm just thinking of something out of my head. I just use something special or something amazing to try and fill in for what I'm trying to say here. If the AI doesn't know what that means, it's not going to give you the content that's right. So my suggestion would be that the handles will be very simple and plain and make sense to what you're trying to achieve. In the past, I used to think you could just use any handle as long as it is the same one. But I started noticing that the AI was using the context of the handles to give me it's outputting, which quite often wasn't correct, wasn't effective. So be mindful of the handles you're using, making sure that they speak specifically to what you're trying to achieve, and then the AI will be more likely to give you the output you're after. Like I said, the more made up the handle is, the less effective the output is. So tip 4, omitting or misspelling handles. Again, going into those handles, you can see how these handles are very important, because we said earlier on that it's all about patterns. The handles help you put in patterns into ClosersCopy. Let me see. I use a discuss a topic easily. Pros and cons. Oops. So I've got here questions, pro 1, pro 2. If I omit the O here, yeah. If I omit the O and it's just on one, yeah, on one of the examples, that alone is likely to skew your whole outcome. Strange how that happens sometimes. Just omit one thing, or resmell one thing, your outcomes get skewed. So one of the things I would do once I notice that the outcome is not working, I go first check all those handles, make sure that they're all saying the same thing, because that's the pattern the AI is using to determine, oh, this is what this guy is looking for. Yeah. So make sure you're not omitting or misspelling your handles. And another common error with the handles would be to miss out. And sometimes the AI would be forgiving and just ignore it, miss out the last hashtag, last 3 hashtag. Sometimes that can create a bit of a confusion to the AI, especially when you don't have enough examples in here. Okay. So tip 5, we want to use close to similar lengths. Again, because we say the AI is following patterns. If you've got a pattern where you've got a 200-word example, and then you go for a 500-word example, and you go for 800-word example, the AI will get confused. And then the outcome won't be as effective. It will just be giving you so many different things, and sometimes it will just give you gibberish as well. So be mindful that your lengths are similar, helping the AI see the pattern clearly. Okay. Tip 6, using effective samples. And I heard some people say they struggle to find effective samples. I would say the best way to find effective samples, you have people you follow people who write or who make videos you follow, it's important to just use their handles, especially if you notice that they are quite professional. Barring that, most of the time, the articles and videos that Google or YouTube suggests at first tends to be quite professional enough. Tends to be quite professional enough to be used as handles. So if you wanted to do like a YouTube video script, for example, and you like a particular way one author speaks, just go into that author's video and use the show transcript, right? This one doesn't have that much transcription going on here. Let's find another one.
GPT-3 is the largest neural network model in existence.
Show transcription.
It was trained on 500 billion words, including...
And use this to help get the AI, get examples for the AI. Quite often, what you just need to do is think, okay, introduction, middle section, and conclusion, and chop it up in that order, introduction, middle section, and conclusion, and use a tool that can help you remove the time values here. And also use another tool that helps you just connect all the sentences together. Otherwise, it's going to take ages to do that, right? So you could just do that, and you got your good examples. Or you go to Google and pick any article up. Oops. Pick any article up. And all we're just doing is using examples of how the person has written because they're often the first 10 articles, I believe. So most of the time we'll have good enough content to create effective frameworks from. However, always remember that you still have to follow this idea of patterns, okay? So that's how we get our effective samples. Moving on to 7. Apart from the handles that help you to get patterns, it's important to try and avoid using the same words in each of the examples. So let's say I'm going to this one. So that's the handle. The handle will be similar as we said. So why is growing together a pro of being in a relationship? Actually, this is a good example because I wanted the questions to still be similar. Why is that? And then the answer will give you if... Okay. Scratch that. So if you look at this answer, yeah, if there is not enough trust and respect in a partnership, each person can grow to learn more about themselves while working on this together. Now, to the AI, it's clear that this has answered this question. This is a question and this is an answer with a handle. Now, let's say I now take this phrase here, respect in partnership, and I put it in all of the, maybe in another example, even just one more example. Quite often that will break the AI's output. Now, whilst I know that this won't be a natural thing that we will do, but sometimes you may want to use the word partnership and you use it in another way, partnership, another way, partnership. You'll just start to find that the AI will be giving you sentences of the same word. Sometimes it can actually spew out the word partnership. So it's important that all your examples, you try as much as possible to avoid using same words. Obviously, words like when or to, those don't matter that much. That you can use those ones as same words. But the main words like improving or dexterity, if the AI sees dexterity too many times, it will put dexterity into every single thing it gives you. Okay, hope that makes sense. So that is tip 7. Tip 8. Some people ask me about making their frameworks niche specific. There's some benefits to that and there's some disadvantages to that. Sometimes you just want the AI to focus purely on giving you content to a specific area. So like, for example, I have this quiz. So for example, I have these frameworks that I use for creating a quiz I created. Now, so this particular framework idea was to get the AI to give me counterintuitive answers or responses. For example, if your coping strategy is trying to keep peace and reduce tension, now the positive intention of this strategy is it gives you the ability to put up with people's unpleasantness. And then the negative side effects of this behavior that causes you to be vulnerable to being emotionally abused and used. It was hard for me to think about how to get the AI to come up with counterintuitive to a coping strategy. And in order to achieve this, I had to stick very much within the emotional well-being or health type settings. So in other words, all of these examples are all linked to coping strategies. So it's very specific to learning to cope. And so because of this, the AI is then able to give me content that's purely related to coping strategies. So in order to get your AI to focus in and give you a specific results to a specific type of niche, it's important to then start using the jargon, the jargon within that niche. So for example, in CBT, we may talk about cognitive reconstruction, we may talk about negative thinking, right? But those are kind of words that we use within that niche. So I begin to use more and more words like that and make sure that there's a pattern of me using those types of words. Then the AI is now going to be more specific to the niche in the outcomes it's giving you. So we could use very specific niche related ideas in the examples. Sometimes I try to stay away from that because I just want the AI to be very good at being able to output general content. So I make sure I stay very clearly away from niche specific terms as a repetition. I might use the niche specific term in the one example, but make sure I do not repeat that specific term in other examples. So in other words, each example would be to a specific niche. The next example will be to a specific niche. That way, your AI is able to give you a more varied answers that cuts across all niches. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Cool. So next we go to what you do when using only two examples. And sometimes what happens is because of the limitation of words that is in the frameworks, you cannot use two examples that are too long. Now, when we want to, quite sometimes we want to write just a whole blog post with just a phrase. So you just put your example in and you want a whole blog post out. To get a whole blog post is quite long. And the maximum length, as far as I'm aware, is 5,000 characters within the example. So all your examples together must amount up to 5,000 characters. So that presents a problem. If you're trying to get something that's very long from the AI, you won't be able to use too many examples. For example, with my explainer frameworks, where they Craft. Okay. So my explainer frameworks have only 2 examples. Because they have 2 examples, it means that the pattern has to be precisely clear. So, and for me, what I used to do the pattern were the handles again: topic, agreeable point, second section, Third section, lesson learned. Okay. So have that pattern everywhere with these two examples. Also, try to make the lengths quite similar for each of the sections of each examples. So this way, the AI is able to take just two examples and start to give you content. So like this particular framework, sometimes it could actually give you up to 3,000 word, a 3,000 word, I think. Let's test it out. So it's giving you a 410 worded explanation of a problem. So yes, it's not as long as 2,000 or 3,000 words or 1,500 words, but all you just have to do is run this twice and you've got your whole 1,000 word blog post. And maybe just to improve that more, you could just add another introduction and conclusion. But these explain frameworks, they're quite powerful. If you haven't used them, I'd suggest you use them. And they just help you create short blog posts in one go with all the answers and responses there. May need a little bit of editing, but it's quite effective already. Okay, so that's that one. So when you're using two examples, we have to make sure everything is specifically labeled and clear. The pattern is very clear for the AI. And then finally, tip 10 is to use something I call the Lego method. The Lego method. All right. So some of you may already know this, that I see ClosersCopy almost like Lego. Lego, how you do with Lego is you take the building blocks and you build bigger things, right? If you get the AI to build its own examples, then it's going to make sense to the AI, and the AI will always give you very good outcomes. So how do we do this? So I have this example I can show you for my yes modules, for the sales modules that I have here. So the BAB IDUP has examples. So with this one, I've got here problem paragraphs, nightmare paragraphs, solution paragraphs, and dreams paragraphs. Now, I got these examples here, but these examples were actually, each of these labeled, section under each label, was actually created by another framework. So I have another framework where all I'm just focusing on is on problem paragraphs. So problem description. And so you have this same setting. The problem at this point is that, so for that particular framework, all the examples were just focused purely on problems. And starting with the problem at this point is that, the problem at this point is that. And so when I got the problem out, and I added the problem into this framework that has problem, nightmare, solution, dreams. So this is like the brick that I've added together to form a whole example. And this way the example is super effective. There's no time you run this, it won't give you a good outcome. But that's because I've used that Lego method. So the Lego method, again, as I say, you create a framework for just one part of this. So in other words, I created a framework for the problem. I created another framework for the nightmares. I created another framework for the solutions. Then I pulled each of those out for this topic and then added on them all together to form an example. And that's how I built the examples in this one. So this is another one that I only used two examples because they're quite long. And the framework is super effective. And the reason it's super effective is because I use the AI to create those examples. The AI understands its own self. So when I now use the AI's examples in my bigger framework, it makes sense to the AI. Again, making sure that the pattern is clear. So you've got dreams paragraph, then one day, And then next here, so you got the dreams paragraph. Then one day, there's a pattern that's clear there for the AI to follow. So with my help on the solutions paragraph, and here the solutions paragraph will also have with my help. Can you see the idea of pattern? Everything else may be different, but there's this solution paragraph with my help. You learn, blah, 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 blah. Right. So this is how we use the Lego method to create extremely complex frameworks that you won't necessarily be able to create easily if you just took examples of a website. Because this one is leaning heavily on the AI to give us the example, and then the examples makes much sense to the AI already, and you can get your complex frameworks out. There you are. So that's how we create 10. So this is how we make sure our AI is extremely effective in giving us the best outcome we want. There are other things we can do. It'll be too long for this video to share. Obviously, we'll be sharing it in our framework mastery program. So the 5-day CC framework mastery challenge. Again, if you are wanting to grab one of the free slots, I would say it's best you sign up now into the group. The link for the group is in the description. Just join and fill in one of the in the comment section. Post in your difficulty, the biggest difficulty you're having with frameworks. If you don't catch the first 8, which is the free slots, you can still catch the first 50, which will be a 50% discount to the challenge to attend the challenge. So if you found this video useful, please comment and share so that the algorithms would show my channel some love. And I appreciate you for all your support in everything I've been doing for the CC community.